All right, are we ready to begin? Let me know when we're ready to commence. Got the live stream going? Live stream's going? Oh, good. All right, well, it is 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 19th of August 2025. Welcome everyone to Melbourne Town Hall Commons. I declare this meeting of the Future Melbourne Committee open. I welcome councillors, management and members of the public attending tonight's meeting both in person and virtually. I note that Councillor Dr. Guess is joining the meeting virtually. Can we just confirm we've got Councillor Guess? Great. So if we could just do our best to try and make sure we've got that connection. We are meeting on the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country, and I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we govern, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung Boonwurrung peoples of the Kulin, and pay respect to their elders past and present. We acknowledge and honour the unbroken spiritual, cultural and political connection they have maintained to this unique place for more than 2,000 generations. We accept the invitation in the Uluru Statement from the heart and are committed to walking together to build a better future. This meeting is being streamed live and the recording will be published on Council's website by close of business tomorrow. The unconfirmed minutes of this meeting will also be available from the Council's website as soon as practicable. I request that all mobile phones be turned off or to silent for the duration of the meeting. And pleased to report we have no apologies have been received. Now, we are going to have a condolence statement for Noel Tovey AM, and I would like to invite Councillor Dr. Ball to read a condolence statement following the passing of Noel. Over to you, Dr. Ball.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Colleagues and community, today we wish to acknowledge and honour the life of Noel Tovey AM, a proud Aboriginal man, a trailblazer in the arts, and an enduring advocate for truth, justice, and cultural pride. Born in Carlton on Christmas Day 1934, Noel's early life was marked by hardship and injustice. Yet through resilience and determination, he transformed adversity into a life of extraordinary contribution. Noel was also a proud gay man who lived with honesty and bravery during times when homosexuality was deeply repressed. His courage in embracing all parts of his identity has been an inspiration to many in both Aboriginal and LGBTQI+ communities. Noel became Australia's first male ballet dancer of Aboriginal descent, performing on some of the world's most renowned stages, from the West End in London to major international dance companies. He was a gifted actor, director, choreographer, and writer whose work reached across continents and communities. Beyond his artistic achievements, Noel was a dedicated mentor and advocate, especially for young First Peoples and marginalised artists. He played a pivotal role in the First Nations welcoming ceremony at the Sydney 2000 Olympics, ensuring First Peoples culture was central to that historic moment. His contributions were recognised with many honours, including his appointment as a member of the Order of Australia, induction into the Victorian Aboriginal Honour Roll, and the Australian Dance Awards Hall of Fame. Noel's story, told in his autobiography, Little Black Bastard, and through his performances, is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of the arts. On behalf of Council, we acknowledge the profound legacy he leaves for the City of Melbourne, for the arts, and for the Aboriginal community. Noel Tovey's life reminds us of the importance of creating a city where culture, truth-telling and inclusion are at the heart of our work. We extend our condolences to his family, friends, and to all who were inspired by him. His legacy will continue to shape and enrich our community for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ball. Well spoken. We move on to agenda item 2, disclosure of conflicts of interest. If any councillor has either a general or material conflict of interest as defined in the Local Government Act in relation to a matter to be considered by the committee, then please disclose the interest prior to consideration of the item. We move on to confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. I call on a councillor to move a motion adopting the minutes of open meeting number 13 held on Tuesday the 5th of August 2025. Thank you, Councillor Ball. Looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Camillo. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that carried unanimously. We move on to agenda... I believe so. Councillor Guest, did you vote affirmatively for that? I thought I caught that eye. Thank you very much. That is indeed carried unanimously. We move on to agenda item 4, matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting. I ask councillors whether there are any matters arising from the minutes that they wish to call out. No. We move on to submissions and correspondence. The following submission has been received in accordance with the Council's governance rules in relation to agenda item 6.2, Council Strategic Planning Program. We have a request to speak and item of correspondence from Chris Thrum. Submitters will be invited to address the committee at the time of the relevant agenda item. We move now on to agenda item 5, public questions. A 15-minute period will be provided at the beginning and end of this meeting for members of the public to ask public questions. Members of the public may either submit public questions in writing or register to ask a question in person or live via the audio link. Questions should not be greater than 90 seconds in duration, and I remind members of the public that this is not time to make submissions. You do that when we get to the relevant agenda item. As at 10 a.m. today, there had been one written public question received, which will be asked in person. I note that in reading out these questions, we're not attesting to the veracity or factual nature of the statements. Well, that's immaterial because it's going to be asked in question, and the person asking that question is Chris Thrum. I would now ask Chris Thrum to please make his way to the lectern so that he can ask us his question.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, councillors, and thank you, Dr. Olivia Ball, for that moving tribute to Noel. That was really beautiful. I've got a couple of questions. First question I've got is 50 years ago, Australia's first community radio station commenced broadcasting from Brisbane, Queensland. The radio station is called 4ZZZ. 1 year later, 3RRR commenced broadcasting, the Melbourne community radio station. And 3RRR is a tremendous supporter
Chris,
of...
sorry, can I just jump in? You submitted a question to us in writing regarding working from home.
Yes, and this is another question as well that I'm asking during the public question time. I've got 15 minutes.
You do. You don't want to lead off with the question that you've submitted in writing and request?
No, I'll lead off with 3RRR, 102.7 FM. It's their radiothon right now.
All right.
So
okay, we'll go to that question and hopefully there's time to get to your other question later on. So
yeah, so thank you for your indulgence.
Back to RRR.
Yep, so it's RRR's radiothon right now, and RRR's a tremendous supporter of music, culture, the arts, very politically active as well. So the question I've got is, would the Lord Mayor, councillors and the City of Melbourne management team consider the option of subscribing to 3RRR and supporting 3RRR?
Thanks for your question, Honorary Councillor Chris Thrum. That's probably a question for the arts portfolio. Councillor Phil Leilou, did you wish to respond on that one?
Sure, I haven't checked what the subscription and any cost from that, but I'm assuming
$95
if done, I'll do
or
it.
$40 if you're hard up.
Done, not a problem. I'll do it out of my own personal.
Oh, bless
thing,
you.
everything. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you for that. And of course, the City of Melbourne are long-time supporters of community media, whether that's hyperlocal, community television, Channel 31, or other community radio stations. Got a long track record, and wonderful to see Councillor Phil Leilou leading with his heart and his wallet on this occasion. All right, can I see if there are any other members of the public who wish to ask a question? Please make your way to the lectern. The one, the only Tony Penner from Southbank, is it?
It is. However, my question is relating to the city in this instance, but I'm sure it extends to Southbank. The other day I was strolling along Queen's Street at a leisurely pace because I didn't want to be accosted by the Lord Mayor for walking too slow or too fast. And while I was doing that, I was observing the rubbish collectors from the rubbish bins. And I noticed that they were emptying them one by one along the street, and they were putting the recycling in the same rubbish collector as the landfill rubbish. And I noticed this rubbish bin after rubbish bin. I confronted the worker that was doing this, and I said, mate, that's recycling. I said, you're putting it in with the landfill. And he goes, oh, yes, but it's contaminated. And I said, but you didn't look in the rubbish bin to even see if it was contaminated. And I said, what is the definition of contaminated? And he said, oh, no, this is the policy or the process or procedure. I won't say policy, so to speak, but this is the process that we've instructed to do, and this is what we've always done, and it all goes into the one. I said, okay, thank you for your information. So I thought I would throw that question to council to see whether it is a council policy and whether council is aware of this. Because I certainly put my recycling in those recycling bins thinking that it's being recycled.
I'm sure you do, Tony, and I'm sure you would have been walking on the left of the footpath as you were walking along Queen Street on that day. Councillor Raf Camilla, did you want to respond, or Rick Kwasik?
I think we can share the question. Thank you, Tony, to bring to the attention. If by any chance you took pictures as well and you can forward in an email to me, I'm more than happy to investigating that. And if you can put the address. But I gotta pass to Rick. But no, that's not the procedures. If you have a yellow bin and the green bin should not be mixed in the same truck. But that's how I have been instructed. I gotta pass to Rick. Sorry about that.
I just mentioned the bins are not different colours there. They're just the ones that say recycling for the City of Melbourne and the normal ones. They're side by side.
Okay,
They're
so
not
the
different
City
colours.
of Melbourne, not the private from a private. Okay.
The City of Melbourne bins, and they say recycling
They
on
should
there,
be-
but they're no different colour.
Okay.
Okay, that's helpful. CEO, Alison Layton.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Tony, for your question. What we might do is get the specifics of the day, the time, the location, so we can follow that up with the contractor. Just to be really clear, expectation is that the recyclables in the recyclable bin go to recyclable processing. So if that hasn't happened in this instance, which we'll need to verify, we'll certainly look into why that is so and make sure that we are making it very clear that our expectation is that the recyclables are processed and recycled. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
All right, thank you. Other questions from the public? Chris, I believe you have a second question.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I have another question, and it's in regards to at the recent state conference for the Labor Party, where the comrades were up at the Moonee Valley Racecourse, one of the world's greatest racecourses, of course. The Premier of Victoria flagged that it was the intention of the Labor Party and the government to initiate the process to instigate laws to enshrine the right for workers to work 2 days a week from home. Now, there's been a lot of backlash and a lot of criticism of this, and a lot of people feel that this is counterproductive to the City of Melbourne, that this is a wrong move to take, that it sends the wrong message to all the citizens and to the community, and that it's not in the best interest of the City of Melbourne that this is enshrined into legislation. The Herald Sun, I ripped out the... I have a slide I wanted to put up. Could you put that up?
Let's see
can.
if that's possible.
There
There
it
it
is,
is.
That's the editorial I got here in my hand. And I echo the sentiments of, strangely enough, the editorial team of the Herald Sun. And I do think that it's important that the City of Melbourne stands up for all the hospitality industry and all the music industry in Melbourne and sort of voice the opinion that we're not approving of this.
All right, thank you for that question, Chris. I might lead off in responding to this question, and in so doing, I note that I'm one councillor amongst 11, and if other councillors wish to express a different view, then that's perfectly permissible as part of this process as well. And I note, Councillor Owen Guest, that you actually look after the finance and governance portfolio, so you've got some portfolio responsibility area in this well in particular. But look, let me say that I do welcome the fact that the state government has indicated that they wish to engage the community on its working from home policy. And I think that's a good thing when you're proposing, significant legislative and societal or policy change. And certainly I would expect it would be the case that if there's an invitation for submissions from community organisations like the City of Melbourne, then certainly the City of Melbourne should endeavour to contribute formally through that state government consultation process. I think the experience of the City of Melbourne over recent years has been that we are a workplace that recognises the benefits of hybrid working, and particularly for families. I myself have 3 kids being brought up, and so I certainly see the benefits of flexible work arrangements and hybrid working arrangements. We also recognise here at the City of Melbourne that Melbourne is at its best when it is full of people, and that workplaces are at their best when they're full of people as well. That's where you get the collegiality, best ideas, and people learn, I think, the most when they're sitting alongside their colleagues. Certainly that's been the case over my working life. I think it's also worth pointing out that the City of Melbourne economy is robust. So I think that editorial you just put up referenced the office vacancy rate in Melbourne being below the capital city average in Australia, and that is the case. And I suspect that office work arrangements have got something to do with that. It's also the case that our retail vacancy rates are the lowest of all the capital cities in Australia at 5.5%. So while office vacancy is amongst the highest of the capital cities, retail vacancy is at the lowest. That reflects the fact that the Melbourne economy is quite large, about 6 or 7% of the national economy, and it's diverse and it's quite resilient as well. While one part of the economy is doing well, another part may not be doing so as well as it has in the past. Interestingly, some parts of the city are busier than they've ever been as well. South Bank is a great example of that. Pedestrian traffic is breaking records week in, week out through there. Also, the nighttime economy is booming. We've welcomed over 140 new venues in the last 12 months, 140 new venues into the municipality, really showing a nighttime economy that is thriving. And of course, our hotel sector is doing well. Our visitor economy has actually never been doing better. We're now the most visited city in Australia, 2.6 million international visitors, 6 million domestic visitors. That makes us the most visited capital city in Australia. And when the Lions were recently here for that game, we broke an all-time hotel room record with 25,082 hotel rooms booked in the city. That is an staggering number and a record for our city. So there's a lot going on out there in the city economy. The office worker economy is only one part of it. What happens in workplaces is also something which I think it's important that the state government is seeking consultation around, and we look forward to seeing further detail from the Premier and the Victorian Government about the consultation process. Councillor Guest, did you want to contribute on this question, given your portfolio responsibilities? You are currently on mute at the moment, we believe. No, we still can't hear you.
No.
No, we still can't hear. Now, we can see that your mute button is on now. There we go. Now it's off. Now we can't hear you. All right, we might on indulge. Yeah, oh, okay, Councillor Camillo, if you wish to contribute on this item.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just think it's very simple. Definitely not support that because I think it's very simple. This is between the employer and the employee. Independent if it's government body or private, I think is case by case. And you're putting that, you're nailing in putting people in pockets is just respect for those people. Needs to be health workers, needs to be 5 days a week and things like that. So I think we just come out from lockdown, has a lot of things we campaigning in the city of Melbourne for people to come back in here and work, activating the city. And I just think proposing that, I feel like it's just a campaign for the next election and is not gonna bring anything better to the city. Leave the relationship between employer, employee for them to determine by case I think is very counterproductive.
All right, as a CBD resident, thank you for that contribution, Councillor Camilla. Is there, Councillor Guest, given your portfolio responsibilities, is there anything you wish to add? Or I think on indulgence we might move on and hopefully we'll get the... No, we still can't hear you, Councillor Guest. So on indulgence, we will move on and we'll see if we can resolve that audio issue as quickly as possible, noting that Councillor Guest can still hear us. All right, we now move... Oh, are there any further questions? Where are we? How are we on time? Oh, our time has expired. All right. Thank you, Chris Thrum, for your question. There will be further time for public questions at later on in this meeting. We now move on to reports from management, and I call on the Deputy Lord Mayor, Rashina Campbell, to assume the role of Chair of the meeting in relation to reports where Council exercises its responsibilities under the Planning and Environment Act.
Thank you so much, Lord Mayor. There is one report from management this evening. That is agenda item 6.1, planning application, TP 2025-12, University Square, 190 to 192 Pelham Street, Carlton. Would councillors like a presentation on this agenda item? No. Then I am going to ask for a motion to be put on the screen. Thank you. I will move that motion and I'm looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Lou. I will now speak to that motion. Look, I am delighted to move this motion because by issuing this planning permit, we're going to be able to enable the next stage of the City of Melbourne's University Square redevelopment in Carlton. This is a significant and a long-anticipated project that supports our great ambition to expand high-quality open space, particularly in areas like our growing City North precinct. Now, what is sought here involves some minimal demolition, primarily involving street furniture and road pavement, and it allows for the construction of pathways, seating, and most importantly, and much needed, new green space. There's also some proposed signage, which is minimalistic. It supports wayfinding. And for those of us to whom this matters, like myself, it will not increase visual clutter. These new works are also considerate of the heritage overlay, and they'll reinforce the original structure and form of this incredible historic 19th century park. The works proposed under this permit are valued at $8.6 million, and what they do is deliver on stage 2 of our University Square master plan. That master plan was endorsed by Council back in 2016, and then importantly refreshed in 2023 following community consultation. Now, although this application is exempt from public notice under the Planning and Environment Act 1987, I'm delighted to say there has been significant public engagement, and that has played a central role as we refresh this master plan in 2023. There's been feedback from local residents, stakeholders and institutions, and that has shaped this plan, and the outcomes of that consultation are directly reflected both in our community's priorities but in what we are proposing to deliver. The engagement from the community overwhelmingly called for an increase in green space in this area and opportunities for that space to be used for casual sport, recreation and fitness. And for those of you who have taken the time to look through the papers for this item, I think you will see that that is delivered in spades. Not only does it deliver vital green space, but also ample opportunities for recreation. It is a great delight as a councillor when you can deliver on what the community has called for, and this is one such space, in particular providing public space that will be used not just by students, not just by City of North residents, but I hope everyone who comes to the City of Melbourne will have the opportunity to take advantage of this new green space. Now, of course, this decision follows Council's previous decision to discontinue part of Barry Street earlier this year. And although there are some limitations on this site, it is my firm view that this is going to make a real difference to the green space that we can offer in this rapidly growing City North precinct of our city. So I thank our team for all of their work. I commend this motion to my fellow councillors, and I now call upon Councillor Lei-Lu as seconder of the motion. Thank you, Councillor Lei-Lu. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? No? Then I will put... Oh, yes, Lord Mayor.
Sorry, I thought Councillor Griffiths may wish to speak to this one given his portfolio, but I'll jump in very quickly if that's okay and just make the observation that the design for the new University Square is absolutely brilliant, and I want to commend our design team here at the City of Melbourne for another extraordinary effort. This is going to be a place which people come to visit just to see the quality of the design and the thinking of what a cutting-edge new green space looks like in the world's most livable city, indeed the world's best garden city. And I think this goes to a bigger point about the metro. You know, a lot of the public conversation about the soon-to-be opening metro is about the new transport services which it is going to provide, which are remarkable. But indeed, as part of the opening of the metro, we are also seeing many new public spaces being returned to the public. And in the case of University Square, it's not just coming back, it's coming back bigger and better than ever before, with 6,500 square metres of new publicly accessible green space being made available to the people of Melbourne and visitors from everywhere who will want to go there. In terms of the design and the new plantings that are going in, I think they look tremendous as well. And, this will not just be a great place for people. I suspect it will also draw many birds, the blue-banded bees, dare I say it, more possums will come into the area as well. And it will be a green oasis for the residents of Carlton and people who crave green space, including those tens of thousands of university students who will be studying on all sides of this square. So, yes, excuse me, Chair, as Lord Mayor, I just needed to express my enthusiasm, and I think the enthusiasm of the community about the fantastic new University Square which is coming our way.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Are there any other speakers to the motion? No? Then I will put the motion to the vote. Can all those in favour please raise your hands? That has passed unanimously. I now call on the Lord Mayor to resume the role of Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lord Mayor. We move on to agenda item 6.2, which is the Council Strategic Planning Program Vision and Council Plan. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No? Okay. Then I now call on Chris Thrum, who requested the opportunity to address the committee in relation to this matter. Welcome back to the lectern, Chris.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, councillors, City Melbourne Management Team, viewers. This is agenda item 6.2, Council Strategic Planning Program, Vision and Council Plan, and it's 199 pages of tremendous material. I would like to thank Katie Bailey, the Program Director, Council Strategic Planning Program, and of course I'd like to thank Mr. Evan Council as well for his immense work and contribution towards this report. Evan's the General Manager, Strategy Planning and Climate Change. I'll begin by saying that we're on Wurundjeri country. This is the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and we respect the elders past and present. I'm surprised that there's not more speakers because this is such a tremendous sort of field and breadth that we're covering in terms of the strategic program. But we'll say Melbourne is a music city. Melbourne is the music capital of Australia. And I think we should encourage the state government to move the Australian Music Vault into a more prominent location in the heart of the CBD. I think we can really elevate the Australian Music Vault to a real beautiful tourist attraction, and we should put Colin Minogue's statue in the foyer of the Australian Music Vault. A lot of things to look forward to in the City of Melbourne too. We're looking at 2027. We're going to have the 150th anniversary of Test cricket at the MCG. Australia will be taking on England, so there'll be like immense interest in that for sure. 2030, we're going to be seeing the 100th anniversary of Fire Lap winning the Melbourne Cup. Melbourne's a horse racing city. Spring Racing Carnival at Flemington is one of the greatest horse racing carnivals on planet Earth. It's truly a spectacle. It's one of the social highlights of the city of Melbourne. So it's important that we do encourage people to go to the Spring Racing Carnival, and it's important that the City of Melbourne supports the horse racing industry. Horse racing industry provides $34 billion to the economy of Victoria per annum. Also too, it's like, it's mentioned that we're applying United Nations resilient standards in terms of this report, and I think it's important to recognise that in 1948, 1949, the President of the United Nations General Assembly was the Attorney General of Australia at the time, Doc Evatt, and Doc was a tremendous advocate to support the United Nations. Also too, this is about being driven by regeneration, so I think it's important that the City of Melbourne embraces the regeneration and then looks at the public housing towers around Melbourne and realise that its better option would be to regenerate, renew, refresh, refurbish, and look after and show a bit of love to those communities. I think we should be true to the regeneration policy. We should really endeavour to protect as many communities as we can in the public housing towers. Thank you for the time. And I do want to thank again Evan and Katie. A lot of fantastic work. Appreciate it. It's tremendous.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for your interest in these matters. It's very much appreciated here at Town Hall. All right, I don't believe there are any other submitters on this item. So I will now request that a motion be put on the screen, and it's a motion that has a minor amendment in it. We just wanted to include the date by which the consultation period will conclude. Can I just, from the 21st of Councillor Ball, I'm just confirming that picks up the point we were discussing earlier. Yes, good.
That is correct. So that should probably be in blue from the word from to the word 2025. That's right.
All right. I'm happy to move that motion, and I'm looking for a councillor to second it.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yes,
I
great.
was
You're a
gonna-
little
I
on
was
the
gonna-
faint side, but
I was going to give you that.
well done, Councillor Guest. All right, I will speak to this now as the mover. Very happy to be moving this motion this evening, and to endorse the draft council plan 25-29 and its associated strategic documents for community engagement. What we have before us is a very substantial and deeply considered and integrated package of strategic plans. There's the 2050 community vision, there's the council plan, there's the asset plan, and the financial plan. That represents a gargantuan amount of work by the City of Melbourne, and I want to put on the record my thanks to our CEO, Alison Layton, and the team here, including Evan Council, Katie Bailey, G. Racconi, Phoebe Harrison, Lincoln Tong, and Emma Murdoch, and many, 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 many others. Many, many others. I also want to put on the record my thanks to councillors, particularly the first term councillors that have probably never been through a process as torturous as devising a council plan. And indeed, but I hope they're looking at today, this evening, saying that's a good draft, looking forward to the community consultation process, and then looking forward to receiving that, considering it, and finalising the council plan. But again, it's an enormous amount of work, and it's a very important piece of work that we do here at the City of Melbourne. I'm sure we will hear from councillors about various aspects of the council plan. For me, I'm personally very excited about the focus in the council plan around pedestrianising parts of the central city. I think that's going to be a very exciting undertaking for this city over coming years, and I think has huge potential to make our city, our central city, even more successful. I'm very pleased and excited to see the commitment in there to accelerate the rollout of new parks and gardens across our municipality as well, indeed growing Melbourne as a garden city. And I truly hope that when future generations of Melburnians look back at this term of council, they really remark on the transformation and investment and foresight that this term of this council exhibited in its investment in green parks and gardens. I'm excited to see the partnerships with business precincts really utilising our precinct associations to grow our business precincts, and the commitment to activating high streets as well. We're very blessed in this municipality to have so many high streets in our central city and in our neighbourhoods. Indeed, they are one thing that make Melbourne unique and distinctive from the suburbs of Greater Melbourne, and we need to think deeply, invest and strategise about those high streets so that we see them truly flourish and be the generators of economic activity across our municipality that we know they have the potential to be. I'm delighted to see the pledge around cleaning our streets and making Melbourne safe. I think we have heard very loud and clear from the community about the importance of that, and this council plan signals a major commitment over this term of council to that initiative. There's really exciting commitments there around expanding vital services, including access to our libraries and swimming pools. There's commitments around cleaning our Birrarung Yarra River, which I think is hugely exciting, and commitments around the retrofit Melbourne plan, encouraging the adaptive reuse of underutilised buildings. And there's so much more. I've just called out a few small items there, but when you put it all together, it's a big plan for our city. It's an ambitious plan for our city. It's a plan that makes Melbourne the best and fairest city in the world. We know it's not perfect, however. We know that our city operates at its best when people have the opportunity for input. And so we've already gone through quite an extensive community consultation process to get to this stage. Now we go out with a further consultation process. And so, as you can see, there'll be now, I think it's about a 6-week consultation period running to the 21st of September, where we can hear from the community what they think about this package of plans. And of course, as we always do, we will receive that content back. We will sift through it carefully. We will listen and we will act where needed. So I commend this council plan to your councillors. It outlines an exciting 4 years ahead for our city and for the City of Melbourne. I hope it will meet with your support when it comes to a vote in a few short minutes. Over to you, Councillor Owen Guest, our portfolio lead in finance and governance.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would concur with a lot of what you've said. In particular, I have 3 concerns, but before I get to those, I would like to reiterate what you said. Alison, in particular, is leading the charge on improving processes here. As recently as yesterday, I sat down not just with Alison, but also the Capital Works team, and I can sort of tell everybody that there are steps being made to improve processes as to how they've been in the past, and I think that's a very good thing. As the Lord Mayor said, I know this is a very big plan. So I guess one thing I'd highlight is that we do have an overarching theory we put into our budget of a back to basics approach, which leads to my first concern, and that is to the budget viability going forward, in the sense that whenever we put something in the plan that says we want to enhance something or to increase something, we are going to face the reality that means we need to cut something else. That's the budget reality we face, and we haven't discussed that yet. So I think that needs to be highlighted. My second concern is around our community consultation process and whether it's a balanced approach that takes into account, well, in particular, those who do pay our bills, the residents and the ratepayers and the small businesses. And it is my sense that ratepayers are relatively unheard compared to some of the other competing voices. And I think we could all appreciate when you put out a survey, you're going to get a different result from those who are actually paying the bills as opposed to those who are not. And on that score, the third thing is, in our discussions, it hasn't been, a priority to talk about the reconciliation plans and treaties, which do go through these documents at length. And once again, I don't feel we have we're listening to voices in terms of in a balanced way. To elevate them to the extent that is put into this planning documentation does give me concern. Those are my 3 concerns at the moment. With that said, there's also a lot to commend the document as well. So I'll leave it at that for the moment. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Guest. The other councillors who wish to speak for or against this item, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Having a number of children, I know it's not advisable to choose favourites, but I have been thinking about what I wanted to say about this council plan, and what I do want to highlight is how I think Melbourne will be different as a result of it, in 3 areas in particular. The first is in relation to our communities, their health, their safety, and how connected they feel. And to get a sense of just how serious we are about making sure there is a tangible difference in how Melbourne looks and feels, you need only look at our indicators, one of which is increasing the number of people who feel the city is clean. We have spent a record amount on city cleaning, but we want to make sure that everyone who lives, who visits, who works in Melbourne, that their perception of city cleaning is improved. And I think that is so important for a world-class city like Melbourne. I'm also really excited about the key activities that I think will make a real difference to how people experience the city in this space. In particular, expanding the visible safety presence in our city so that everyone here feels safe, but also advocating for increased police resourcing. A safe city is the most important thing that we can deliver. And Melbourne is a safe city, but there are understandably perceptions about lack of safety and areas in which safety is a concern. And to take a view of how seriously we are treating this issue, it is a key part of this council plan. And I'm really excited to see those key activities delivered. Another way in which I do think Melbourne will be different is the key activity around leading action on homelessness and reducing rough sleeping. The reality is, particularly in these colder months, sleeping rough is not good for the people who are doing it. No one should be spending winter months on the streets of Melbourne, and it's not good for the city either. So this council plan shows the City of Melbourne taking a leadership role in that space. And I certainly hope that by delivering on that plan, people who come to Melbourne will see a real difference in the levels of rough sleeping in Melbourne. The second thing I wanted to talk about that I think we will see a real difference in how Melbourne presents is the key activity around supporting both community and business-led city greening in both our streets and in other spaces. Now, this might mean that we have businesses who want to take a leadership role in greening certain parts of our city. It might be residents who want to take a role in that. And it is about cutting the burden, the regulatory burden that stops them from doing that and enabling them to play a leadership role in greening their own communities. There are great results when this happens, both in Australia and around the world. And it makes sense for Melbourne, as part of being a garden city, to empower our residents and businesses to play a role in delivering that city greening. And I can't wait to see what sort of green oasis results by putting our residents and businesses in a powerful position to deliver that greening. And the final thing I wanted to talk about is the sort of economy we might experience in Melbourne. And something I'm really excited about at the heart of this plan is growing our city's economy, in particular attracting new headquarters to Melbourne, headquarters at scale with a large number of employees. I'm so excited to see what the Melbourne economy looks like in the future. We are a knowledge city, we are a world-class innovation city. But the fact that we at a local government level, at a capital council level, are playing a leadership role there to grow the economy, not for all of us in this room, but for the people who are going to come after us so that they have the sort of economic opportunities that we have had today. So you might get the sense that I'm really optimistic about Melbourne's future, and this plan is our role in delivering in that future.
Thank you, DLM. Other councillors wish to speak to this item? Councillor Camillo.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Would you like to make an amended to the motion? Is that okay?
Yes, you can.
Already giving to the management if they can put on the screen, please. Can I read? Should I read? Or do you want to read, Lord Mayor, or no?
Yeah, and if we could just scroll down slowly
Yep.
now so people can see the amendment that is being made. Yep, that's the amendment. So you'll take that as moved. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Gladys Liu, thank you. Back to you, Councillor Camillo, to speak to the amendment.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Councillors, I'm moving this alternative motion to provide for a small amended for a small number of changes, but important ones which I believe reflect the feedback we have heard from the community. Today, so far, in your team and the engaging sessions we held towards building a Melbourne 2050 vision, I believe it is important to reflect in one of the top priorities in the importance of the city, which is clean and welcoming. A clean city helps everyone feel safe, healthy, and proud of where they live. Clean streets and public space reduce risks to our health, make it easier to enjoy the outdoors, and create a welcoming environment where people feel secure and connected. As you guys can see in there, renaming item 8.11, remaining priority health, safe, and connected communities to health, safe, clean, and connected communities. I also believe that our key activities should be included ongoing efforts to minimize the disruption to the city life that protests can bring. We need stronger engagement with state and federal government to find better ways that allow us to maintain the right of people to protest, but in a way that minimizes disruption to the city life. We need to be able to ensure residents, business, and visitors continue to go about their daily life in a safe and secure manner. Anyway, my final amendment seeks to extend conversations in relation to our enhanced public transport system to include the important issue of safety and well-being of travelers, to enhance city visitation and economic prosperity to your city. We had a big increase in violence in the public transport. We need to make the public transport better for enhanced city visitation more than ever. And that's our final. And finally, I welcome the vision and the council plan that I feel this time more than ever embrace getting the basics right as a local government. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Camillo. Councillor Gladys Liu, did you wish to speak to the amendment?
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. And I'm happy to second this amendment and totally agree with Councillor Raphael Camillo. And in particular, I want to raise this point. In 8.1.2.1, I absolutely want to safeguard the right to protest. Australia is a democratic country, and in the city of Melbourne, we have more people born overseas than locally born, and the people come here for democracy. So definitely, we need to safeguard the right to protest. But we do not have the right to disrupt. When we see the protests happening, according to advice that I received, is daily in the city of Melbourne. We have shops being disrupted, we have transport being disrupted, and people, if they were on the way to hospital or emergency birth, giving birth. Now, this is important. This is lives. We're talking about risking lives. And at the same time, we have police. We need a lot of police force to make sure that the protests are conducted in an orderly way. And what it means is we will be drawing a lot of the police force from all over Victoria to come here to do the job. And that will mean less police to maintain law and order over Victoria. So I definitely support safeguards the right to protest while reducing disruption. And this is an important point that amendment that we want to add to our plan. And I am very happy to support the amendment.
All right, thank you, Councillor Gladys Liu. Would any other councillors like to speak for or against this amendment? Councillor Dr. Ball?
Thank you. I'll speak briefly against this amendment. Firstly, because these draft documents before us tonight in this motion have been thrashed out amongst the councillors, and no one councillor has everything they want in these documents, and we have all proposed things that have not made the final cut. I don't want us all to be bringing all of these amendments to the floor tonight and thrashing them out again. This is a document now for public feedback and public consumption. We want to know what the public thinks of this document now, and more substantively, I am very concerned about the idea that protest cannot disrupt. In fact, the very point and value and force of protest, its import, is in disruption very often. So I cannot support that. It's extremely important that we protect the right to protest, as Gladys Liu has said. Councillor Liu, I beg your pardon. And I don't think this is the way to go about it. It is a matter of great concern, so I will not be supporting this.
All right, thank you, Councillor Dr Ball. Any other councillors wish to speak to this item? Councillor David Griffiths.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I do agree with much of what Councillor Ball has just said there. I think they doth protest too much about the right to protest. The people moving this amendment, I can understand the intent about it, and we've all seen protests or at least gatherings on our streets in the last few weeks that make us uncomfortable and that we should be speaking out against. And I'm obviously referring to the gathering of alleged Nazis on Burke Street in the morning a week or two ago. But that said, that's a time for us as a council to be showing leadership and to be taking the opportunity to speak about our values in that. And I agree with Councillor Ball that while the words that are in front of us in this amendment are relatively mild, that it is opening the door to a conversation around changing the nature of the way that protests happen in the city. And I think back on the many protests that I've been part of as a unionist, as a teacher unionist, for anti-war rallies, for same-sex marriage rallies, and many other things. They have been disruptive, and that was a way of ensuring that the voices of the people of Melbourne were heard by many levels of government. And for those reasons, I won't be supporting the amendment.
All right, would any other councillors wish to speak for or against the amendment? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to thank Councillor Camillo and Councillor Liu for bringing this amendment. I appreciate that we have gone through a long council process, but the great part of our council plan is it now goes out for community consultation, and I do think it is important to see the community's views on these items, in particular a framework for minimising disruption from protest. I hear my councillor colleagues about the nature of protest needing to be disruptive, but the reality in Melbourne, and this is a unique reality for our city, is that it has been disrupted by now almost weekly and certainly again weekly protests for almost 2 years. Protests that are having a real impact on businesses who are losing essentially 1 day of trade every week. That's the difference between making a profit or not. People who cannot move around the city. And in particular, every weekend, I see elderly people. I see people who are disabled, who are prevented from moving around the city when trams come to a standstill. I see that over the summer during really hot periods where we are holding major events and people are stranded and cannot move. The right to protest is not an absolute right. There has to be a balancing exercise between the disruption and at times the real risk to people's livelihoods when emergency services vehicles could be disrupted, when people are not able to feel safe in our city. They are real risks and not a Melbourne that I think can continue. So I'm grateful for this amendment. I look forward to the community's feedback on it, but I do think this gets the balance right between the right to protest and the right for everyone else to live and feel safe and move around our city.
All right, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the amendment? Councillor Leilu.
Thank you. I'm happy to support it as well, mainly because I think not supporting it means that we are okay with the status quo. And for me, that is just not on. And I think I would really hope that council really think about what we are seeing at the moment. It's unprecedented. And the fact that we have neo-Nazis walking down the street and we cannot do anything about it is just absolutely ridiculous. This is supposed to be a city of culture, of the fact that there are so many people who live here, and yet we let them do it. And something really, really needs to be done about it. And so, if we don't support this, it means we are okay with the status quo. And I don't know how anybody who's been through, I don't know, probably I've lost count, maybe a year or two, or I don't know when the process even started. So this is, I think it's very reasonable. It doesn't, it's very mild. It's one that I think asks just for consideration because I think everyone's sick and tired of it. I note that, we always tell people to, okay, well, you shouldn't drive to the city because you should ride or walk or take the tram. Well, the tram's not working when people are blocking the street. People can't, some people can't even ride the bikes through some of the protests because the police just say, no, you can't ride through it. You have to stop, right? And when you're walking through it, he goes, no, you can't walk through it. You have to actually go all the way around or wait until they finish. And that's usually around about another 10 or 20, 30 minutes. So we encourage all these things, and yet we can't, and people can't actually get to where they are. So of course people's going to go, you know what, it would have been better if I just got in my car and I should have just done it away, right? So I'm happy to support this. Thank you, Councillor Camillo, for putting this. I know, many people have talked to you. I think you and I has the only two resident councillor living in the CBD whole grid. I could tell when the protest marches are happening because I just know when the sirens are hearing or people with the drums or everything. It's something that, as a resident really, really affects it. So I hope this passes through and thank you again for putting this forward.
All right,
Lord
any
Mayor?
other councillors wish to speak to this amendment? Councillor
Lord
Rouse.
Mayor?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just to clarify my comprehension of the phrase right to protest, covers the Victorian Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities, specifically peaceful assembly and freedom of expression, confirming that for those listening at home. I will support the amendment specifically relating to 8.1.22. In relation to community safety and the public transport system, Melbourne is, of course, a student city. And again, our reps and student advocates continually say that they feel safer when they are able to take public transport home at night and feel safe on public transport. So for those reasons, I will support the amendment as is, the amendment on the screen, because I think it's vitally important that everyone feels safe on our public transport system, and it is a vital link for our students who are very much a large proportion of our inner city residents as well.
Thank you. Any other councillors on the amendment?
Lord Mayor?
Councillor Owen Guest, over to you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think there's been a lot of good comment regarding this
Could you
amendment
speak up
here.
a little bit if possible? We can hear you, but it's
Sorry,
a little faint.
Closer to the
Sorry.
microphone.
I'm not, okay. I'll keep it brief, but I would acknowledge Councillor Griffith and Councillor Ball's concerns regarding the right to protest. I think they are right to bring them up, but on balance, and I think that's the word, the Deputy Lord Mayor used that word balance, and I think right now we're facing a situation that is unbalanced. We are facing protests at a rate that is disruptive to the city, is making people unsafe, and if this amendment can put this into the conversation, help us find a circuit breaker to find our way through, then I think it's a good thing. So I'll also be supporting the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Guest. Any other councillors wish to speak on this before we put it to the vote? Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll be very brief and just say it's interesting tonight. We've talked about work from home, expanding that. Thank you, Honorary Councillor Thrum, for bringing that to our attention, having that consideration tonight. But also the protests here that we're talking about has probably gone a little bit too far in terms of the balance. I did say when I was running for council that I would be a strong voice for small business in this city. And on behalf of small business, I know they would say two of the biggest things that are an impediment to their vibrancy, which ultimately leads to the vibrancy of the city, would be people not coming to work in the city and not being able to feel safe in the city when confronted with confrontation and disruption, as we call it, in the form of protests that can often get a little bit out of control. So I will be supporting this amendment tonight, and I thank Councillor Camillo for bringing it to Council to consider, and I think it's an important part of the draft plan that's going out for community consultation. I'll be really interested to hear the voices of residents and small businesses in the context of this particular issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Scott. Any other speakers to the amendment? No. In that case, we're going to now vote on the amendment. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Camillo, Councillor Rouse, Councillor Leilu, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Rees, Councillor Louis, Councillor Liu, Councillor Scott, Councillor Guest. All those against, Councillor Griffiths, Councillor Ball. The amendment has passed. So we now continue to debate the motion with the amendment in it. Are there any councillors who have not yet spoken to the substantive motion, which now includes an amendment about the council plan, who would like to? Councillor Dr. Ball.
Thank you. I had thought that was going to be an alternate motion, not an amendment. Otherwise, I would have prepared more remarks regarding the idea of managing protests. However, as to the council plan, that is the draft that is published last week for the benefit of the public and will go out to community engagement from tomorrow. Of course, there's much in it that is essential and to be commended. I, however, wish to focus on the things that concern me, if I may, and if I could begin with a rather dry issue, but an important one. I think that it warrants pointing out that our draft plan contains indicators, but it doesn't have any benchmarks. And I think we need a benchmark for every indicator. What does that mean? Indicators are specific information, whether qualitative or quantitative, on the state of an event or an activity or an outcome, and you'll see them in the draft plan. However, benchmarks are the goals with a predetermined value that is our target for each of those indicators. For example, an indicator might be the proportion of 1-year-olds in the City of Melbourne who are immunised against a particular disease. And a benchmark for that indicator might be to raise the proportion to 90% or to improve immunisation coverage by 10%. That is a benchmark. And yet we have none, unfortunately. I think that is a weakness that should be remedied in the 2 months remaining to us. We have a lot of indicators in this plan for instance, daily pedestrian counts, the percentage of adults who get enough exercise. But what are the baseline values of those indicators now? And what are we aiming for in this term of council? So I think adding baseline and benchmark data will improve the accountability of our council plan. And if I could illustrate with a real example from the plan, referencing our award-winning 2020 transport strategy, it commits the city to building 50 kilometres of connected, physically protected bike lanes over 10 years to improve safety and get more people riding. This must be reflected in the council plan to ensure we stay on track to reach this goal to which we are committed. The cyclists of Melbourne have fought hard to restore bike lane funding in council's annual budget this year and will expect to see this in the council plan. So the plan needs a new indicator monitoring how many kilometres of new protected, physically connected bike lanes that council builds, and then the benchmark we have already set for ourselves to accompany that indicator, which is, on average, 5 kilometres every year. Beyond that sort of structural issue, I would like to outline 3 particular concerns of the plan as currently drafted. The budget we adopted in June cut some $6 million from the open space budget relative to the previous year's budget. And the public deserves some transparency as to which parks council plans to build or not build, where and when. The council plan should name the parks it intends to build in this term. If these plans were to be foiled by factors outside of our control, like, say, approvals from the necessary authorities, that is, of course, outside our control. But not committing to any park building specifics is to be untransparent and unaccountable. So I believe we ought to name the parks that we want to create or to expand in the council plan. Secondly, this draft plan has a strong emphasis on safety, as we've already heard. We all want a safe city with a strong sense of community, where we ensure everyone in need has somewhere to turn, a place where they will experience welcome, dignity and compassion. In March, Council began a 6-week trial of private security guards patrolling our city streets. Council has since extended this trial twice and promised $2 million for it in this year's budget, and in June decided to bring those guards in-house by directly employing people to act as security guards with added powers of enforcement of local laws to move people on and issue fines. At the same time, this council wants to expand existing CCTV cameras, both the geographic area that the cameras cover, including, the plan says, integrating partner networks of cameras with public cameras, and expanding the uses to which they are put. Currently, public CCTV cameras are strictly confined to detecting and solving crime and assisting with emergencies. Suggested new uses, which are yet to be confirmed, include detecting littering and abandoned shopping trolleys. Liberty Victoria, the Human Rights Law Centre and the Victorian Information Commissioner have all expressed alarm at the direction Council is heading. Council has promised $2.1 million for new CCTV cameras and $2 million for, quote, more boots on the ground in this year alone. This is a shocking misuse of public money. Money which could go a long way to making safe the most at-risk people on our streets, including people sleeping rough, who are mentally ill, using drugs or escaping violence. Crime and antisocial behaviour are symptoms of an unequal society. We can reduce them by lessening inequality and finding compassionate, constructive responses to hardship and suffering rather than jackboots. Why is this a misuse? It's not just my opinion. Its extensive research has made clear that punitive law and order responses produce more crime, while justice reinvestment, which means redirecting monies from these failed strategies into direct social services, alleviates the hardship and suffering that underlie behaviours of concern. This is the first time the public has had a chance to give feedback on these proposals, since they haven't been subject to community engagement before now. So I welcome the public's views. And finally, I'm concerned this plan doesn't give adequate emphasis on the climate and biodiversity emergencies, which Council declared in 2019. Most Australians...
Councillor Ball,
Yes, Lord
I
Mayor.
think your contribution is excellent. I'd just remind you to try and keep your remarks as succinct as possible so that we can hear from as many councillors as possible.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I was not aware we had a time limit, but I am on my last point and I will be succinct as I can. Thank you. Most Australians are deeply concerned about the climate changing and what lies ahead of us. We need to act as a society and as a council on the emergency that we have declared is engulfing us. This must be front and centre of the council plan. Being a good financial manager, which is the language in the plan, means making the urgent investments we need in climate mitigation and adaptation to avoid the far greater costs we will face if we fail to act. The IPCC's latest report highlights that the costs of inaction on the climate crisis far outweigh the costs of mitigation and adaptation. Failure to act will lead to significant economic losses, detrimental impacts on human health and well-being, and damage to our ecosystems. Specifically, the IPCC report emphasises that delaying climate action will result in higher future costs due to increased extreme weather events, damage to infrastructure, including, of course, our public infrastructure for which we are responsible, and disruptions to food production and water resources. So I think the first outcome in the council plan as currently drafted ought to commit the City of Melbourne to being a good financial manager, sustainably balancing current and future needs in the context of the climate and biodiversity emergencies. I will vote for this motion to allow the public to express their views on the draft council plan, and I very much look forward to receiving that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dr. Ball. Would any other councillors like to speak to the amended substantive motion that is before us? Councillor Phil Leilu.
I wasn't actually going to, mainly because I think there's a lot of debate on this one, but I think in light of that, I had to put my opinion through. I think an investment into security and safety is important. I don't want to end up like Q, where some 4 people went into someone's house, slashed them, knifed them, stole their cars, and absolutely terrified that young family. I don't want Melbourne to be like that. And to be honest, Melbourne is turning to be like that. An investment into security and safety is the paramount. If people cannot walk into the city safely, if people do not feel safe, then we have failed as the fundamental job of what a city should be doing. We shouldn't even be considering anything else apart from making this. We talk about city being the most livable, and yet the key word in that is to live. How many people will feel live and livable in the city when they don't actually feel safe? We took an action when the scooters came in here, right? Because we felt, it's safe. But when we actually felt it wasn't safe, we made a very conscious decision to remove them. Why? Because there were so many people who felt the need to feel safe. They were getting scared because they're going to get cleaned, behind them. They were going to get damaged and everything. And so we take action and we put a lot of emphasis on that. And I would say we haven't even spent as much on security and safety as much as we actually spend on other areas. The amount of money we spend on homeless, I can easily just say, make room. We've given up an entire building that's worth around about $40 million or whatever it is, right? For the next 20 or 30 years. We've essentially said homelessness is going to take 20 or 30, 40 years. That is a commitment we've made. Also the fact that we actually absolutely blown the budget on that as well, and we had to actually put in more money. So I would say, if we are going to say, okay, well, we should be taking things from other parts of the council's initiative and everything to, not pay for this and everything. Well, I'm saying we actually put in a lot of money in every other area except for safety and security. And so we are actually doing this not to make it right. And so I don't agree with the fact that the money that we spend on safety and security can be, it's going into homeless and everything. It's all on the record, and I'm happy to go through every single budget, everything because I've delivered the last 4, right? Where we literally have spent so much money on this one and not into safety. So I really do not agree with that view. I know we have different opinions, and this is a vision that's come forward, but I really felt I needed to say that because that is just something that I wasn't going to plan on speaking on anything else because I was actually going to be happy with this, and I've already put my thoughts through our councillor group. But if publicly we do this, I have to stand up for that. And then that's the reason why I voted also for the amendment, because this is a need for this. And we might have different opinions, but safety is the absolute paramount because no one else is doing it properly, and we got to be the one that's going to be stepping up.
Thank you, Councillor Phil Leilu. Councillor Raf Camillo, you're now speaking to the substantive motion.
I just want to add a very brief commenting here. I think using too much superlatives to say boots on the ground and terrorize the community to tell those people we put in there an extra enforcement law officers. They will be the eyes of the city to support the community. They are not in there to do and cause any harm to anyone. Another thing I got to remind in here, thank you, CEO, that you inform us that one of the reasons the city of Melbourne is not the best city in the world, because when I moved in here, as an international student, was the best city in the world. And my pledge to come as a councillor was to make this best city in the world. And the topics and the issues that stopping us to be the best city in the world is safety and protests. So I'm not in here to politicize the way we're going with this plan. The only thing I'm trying is doing the basics right, listen to our community in a local government. That's it, nothing else. So I think this vision is very balanced. I think everyone had the input in there. I even think I had less input than I believe, but even that, I compromise. So I'm not going there and criticize every single item in there. I think we try to do the basics right, and I welcome the vision, and thank you to all the staff that makes this change and embrace the change to make us to move to a better city and to the best city in the world. I didn't come to become a councillor to be number 10, to come number 1. And that's what I'm in here every day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Camillo. Councillor Rouse.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll just start off quickly by referencing Councillor Camillo's comments there in terms of Melbourne being ranked the most livable city in the world. Through my calculations, the specific area that Vienna tops us over in is actually public transport. So if anyone from the state government's listening and wants to help get Melbourne back into the #1 livability spot in the world, public transport is the single area I think we can have the biggest improvement in relation to climbing back up that ladder to #1. I am happy to support the plan and the motion as we see it on the screen. I'll keep my comments as brief as possible. First of all, just a massive thank you to Team Melbourne in getting us to this point. They have the impossible and unenviable task of taking input from 11 very diverse councillors and trying to put that into a single document is a Herculean task that I don't think will ever be complete or perfect in any shape or form. So a massive thank you for where we've got to now. There are things in here that I absolutely love. There's some things that I'm relatively indifferent of, but there's very few things that I vehemently hate or dislike. And I think that's a testament to the hard work and effort of the team thus far. And I can say there has been many hundreds of post-it notes to get us to the position where we are now. I will point out one thing, of course, that I do really like in this document, and as the Councillor for Innovation, that of course is a big focus on building up our innovation ecosystem here. The specific indicator being a global ranking of Melbourne's startup ecosystem. We have a strong and growing ecosystem here in Melbourne, and I think we're still yet to realise the full potential of that as we go forward. Specifically ensuring that Melbourne's role as a global powerhouse of innovation continues to attract the brightest minds, ambitious innovators, and the best enterprises. I'll also happily point out what I see as a joyous error in the document that I see. Every page in here does point out relevant UN Sustainable Development Goals, and on the ones speaking specifically to leveraging our economic strengths, it does point out 5 of them. It is my vehement view, of course, that when we support ambitious innovators and support and use and leverage the great educational institutions that we have here within Melbourne. And I have seen this firsthand working with all sorts of researchers and startups that we don't just impact specific Sustainable Development Goals, but actually impact all of them, whether that be through more environmentally friendly pesticides, as we saw recently at the RMIT Pitch Night, permeable pavements, all ability access, as we've seen recently from some of the teams working with Melbourne University at the moment. It really does impact all of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So whilst I'll take that as a happy error, I do really appreciate the work that has gone into this, and I think I'm very keen, as all the councillors are, to hear the public's feedback, and as we can incorporate that into a final version coming back to council as noted in the motion on the screen. Thank you.
21st of September. Thank you, Councillor Rouse, for your contribution. Any other councillors wish to speak to this item? Councillor David Griffiths.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We obviously have been going through a long process here. Started out with the Youth Roundtable and heard from the youth of Melbourne that they wanted a city built on hope, not fear. I'd really encourage them to have their voices heard as part of this feedback process because goodness only knows we need a bit more hope and a bit less fear in this chamber.
Thank you for that reminder, Councillor Griffiths. Councillor Gladys Liu.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the officers for the work that you have put in. We may not always agree with each other, but I have to say I do appreciate that you spend weekends, late nights to put things together, ready for our next get-together, our next meeting, our next workshop. So a lot of work put in that's really appreciated, and I also would like the public to take a look at our council plan. It's a plan that no one person is 100% happy with it because it's a compromise. You can't always get what you want. However, I think we have put out the best possible collective council plan. And I really like that the public, especially who are living or working or running a business or have investment in the city of Melbourne, to put in your thoughts, your comments. I also appreciate if anyone who are interested in the city of Melbourne to comment and feedback as well. But I'm sure our officers will make sure those who are, as I mentioned, who have more to do with the city of Melbourne, we would love to hear from you and value your feedback. So I'm very happy to support this council plan and put forward for community feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gladys Liu. Any other councillors wish to speak to the substantive item? I might exercise my right of reply as the mover then and just conclude the debate by saying some of you may have seen that a survey was released this week which ranked local governments around Australia according to their performance. And I should say I was not surprised to see the City of Melbourne ranked as the top capital city local government in Australia. And I wasn't surprised by that because I know the passion and the commitment and the energy that the people who work for this organisation put in and that this councillor group put in as well. Here at the City of Melbourne, we get the job done, and we saw that in that survey result, again, ranking us as the top capital city government in Australia. With the council plan, we lift our eyes. We look ahead to the next 4 years. What can this group do? What can this organisation achieve? What can this city achieve if we come together around a plan? And I am delighted to see this document that's before us that's now going out to the community for consultation. It's not perfect, but gee whiz, it's got a lot of great ideas in there, big ideas that will take our city forward, small ideas that will make a real difference as well in our neighbourhoods, in the people's homes, to the small businesses and the folks who enjoy our city every day. So I think this is a plan that we can be really proud of. I'm really looking forward to the consultation process that we're about to go through. If the debate here at Council tonight was any indication, it'll be a robust process, as it should be in a democracy, because we know, and that'll be a good thing, because we know what will come out the other end will mean a plan that is better again. When Melbourne is at its best, we are the greatest city in the world, And I think this plan and this process that we are now going through is going to help get us there. So on that note, let's put the plan and the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise their hand. All right. I'm Councillor Guest. I'm just putting the matter to the vote. Are you
I think I'll abstain. Thank you.
all right? You were the mover of the motion. You do have the right to abstain
Yeah.
if you wish, I believe.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
Councillor Camillo.
I'm happy for it to go forward.
All right. Councillor Camillo, Councillor Rouse, Councillor Ball, Councillor Leilu, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Rees, Councillor Louis, Councillor Lou, Councillor Scott, Councillor Griffiths. All those against, all those abstaining. I think that's Councillor Owen Guest. Okay, that motion is passed. We move on. We have our next agenda item is general business, because we have concluded reports from management. There's one item of general business. It's a notice of motion from Councillor Dr. Olivia Ball on communications during community engagement. I call on Councillor Dr. Ball to move the motion. So moved. And I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Camillo, back to you, Councillor Dr. Ball.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This motion pertains to public communications crafted by our precious public servants about proposed plans and actions of council subject to community engagement and only during periods of community engagement. Unlike other levels of government, local government is required by law to subject its budget, its plans and major proposals to community scrutiny and feedback before they are adopted as council policy. And this is a great thing in a democracy. The policy that guides how we undertake community engagement is currently under review. And the objective of this motion is to ask our officers for guidance on how we can ensure a community engagement process does not seek public support for council's proposals so much as genuine, informed community feedback. To give a fictitious and facile example, if council wants to test public support for, say, $2 swim passes, it's relevant and useful for the public to know if they used to be $1 or equally if they were previously $5. The average punter isn't going to know unless we put those two pieces of information before them together at the same time. In this instance, I'm asking our media professionals to seek not to convince the public that council's ideas are great when they are subject to public engagement, but to go that little bit further and think about the task a little differently. Take the viewpoint of the public being asked their opinion and present the new proposal in context, neutrally and objectively. For example, does the public support a cut to X or the doubling of Y? The public can't be expected to give informed consent without this sort of contextual information accompanying a new proposal. Is that practical? How would it work in different settings? This is for our trusted public servants to advise us, and this motion seeks that expert advice. I want to emphasise at this point how much I value the work of all of our officers and their hard work serving the public through local government. They are how we get things done and how we come to be rated by the public in the top 20 local governments in Australia and as the top capital city council in Australia. So bravo to all of those listening tonight and those not listening. They deserve our thanks and our respect. So to all of our staff and our comms staff in particular, who in particular have high pressure jobs, stressful deadlines, work crazy hours, I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dr. Ball. Councillor Camillo.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I also like to thank Councillor Olivia Ball for preparing this motion. The City of Melbourne encouraged everyone in the community to have their say on matters and decisions that impact them. As this motion notes, the City of Melbourne Community Engagement Policy Review is currently out for public consultation until the 10th of September. As we mentioned, please go online on Participate Melbourne and have your say. That's the time to participate. This motion seeks to strengthen City of Melbourne's already significant commitment to transparency, meaningful community engagement by ensuring that all communications during consultation are objective, neutral, easy to understand, but we try to remember less adjectives and superlatives when we make a consultation. Clear explanations of proposals enable the community to give informed feedback and build trust in our process. The City of Melbourne already does great work in this area, but embedding these principles into our policies will continue to support genuine participation in decision-making. I gotta thank you, the staff in here, for the great work they're doing. The only thing we're trying to do is that to be the best city in the world and in keeping the top 20, we always need to improve. So that's not a criticism. It's just like adding a little bit more, the sharing the top of the cake that to improve a little bit of consultation and follow feedback of the community. That's why, and I'd like to thank you, Olivia Ball, again, to put it that, and that's why I love democracy, because we're in here supporting each other through this topic and for the embedment of this city. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Camillo. Any other councillors wish to speak to this item?
Yep.
Just Councillor Mark Scott.
Just very briefly, Lord Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Olivia, for Dr. Ball, for bringing this motion to us. I do have a little bit of a concern around just the interpretation of what is objective ultimately, but I trust in the officers and their teams in the communications area to get that right. But it will be interesting to see how that actually works in practice with the review. Having said that, I will be supporting this motion, of course, because as a marketing person myself, I do understand that it's all about how you pitch it and how you frame the question or frame the communication in terms of getting the result you want. So I do congratulate Dr. Ball for bringing this objectivity, or at least attempt at objectivity and neutrality, to the way we communicate to the public during a process where we do want genuine, unbiased opinion from the general public as part of consultation. So thanks, Olivia. I will be supporting this.
All right. Any other? Councillor Andrew Rouse.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. If Councillor Ball and Councillor Camillo will indulge me, I think there is a slight correction in order, that it wasn't just top 20, I think it was top 10 that City of Melbourne was ranked nationally, which I think is a fantastic result. And number one, only Metropolitan City Council in the top 20, which I think is very exciting to see. I'm happy to support the motion on the screen. And look, I do have a few practicality concerns, but I note that the motion requests the review to consider and ask for feedback on how this might be accomplished. And I think Councillor Ball's absolutely right in pointing out that the council officers are the best ones to explain to the council how this could or perhaps might not be feasible, or the issues or the ramifications of where this might fit. But I do very much agree with the desired impact of ensuring that the public are informed and the public are giving us feedback with an understanding of the implications of what their support for any given motion on any given day may or may not be. So I will be supporting the motion on the screen.
Great. All right. Any other speakers to this item? If not, we'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried unanimously. All right, that concludes items of general business. We move on to urgent business. Any items of urgent business anybody wants to call out? In that case, we move on to agenda item 9, public questions. A further 15 minutes has been set aside for members of the public to ask questions. Is there anybody here this evening who has a further question for us? No. In that case, we will move on to the next agenda item. For many, it will be their favourite this evening. It's agenda item 10, closure of the open meeting. I wish to thank members of the public for their interest and attendance and declare this meeting closed at 7 p.m. Thank you, one and all.